Voila! What's up, everyone? How are we doing on this fine day? Oh, man, I tell you what, the weather decided to be a royal pain. It dropped from 49 to 17 with a negative or with a 7 to 5 degree wind chill. It was chilly last night. It was chilly last night. I will definitely be starting the fire today and supplementing my poor heater, trying to keep up with everything. But wow, last night I'm talking to Big J. Last night, news breaks at 11:59 p.m. 11:59 p.m. The Giants, barring any setbacks, are in line to get John Harbaugh. So a big thing though is there is still a lot to work through, is what one source said. There's a lot to work through, which makes me wonder who broke this news. If there is still a lot to work through, that means there's still opportunity for Arthur Blank or whoever that third team is that we don't know about. There's still opportunity for Arthur Blank or that third team to be able to step in and steal him from the Giants. If there's a lot of work to do, this is like draft. You're sitting there, the clock runs out, you don't get your pick in, somebody else can do it. They can steal that pick. We've had that in the draft a couple times. It's infamous. So the Giants better hurry up. Whatever the holdup is, the Giants better hurry up. They better get Harbaugh signed, because money is not going to be an option to at least 3, if not 4, of the other owners that have open positions right now. Money is not going to be the issue. And he's not choosing his own GM because Joe Schoen's there. Now, if Joe Schoen gets fired, Joe Schoen is going to be hired rather quickly. I hope Schoen does not get fired with this. I don't. Now, the third team, and this is really interesting, and this I do not want this. As a Colts fan, I don't want this. The third team is the Tennessee Titans, which is shocking to me that the Titans are willing to get a coach that would actually take on ownership and challenge them. Remember, Vrabel got fired because he told them you're doing things wrong. Now, maybe after these 2 years of seeing everything happen and then watching Vrabel be in the divisional round with a very legitimate shot to be in the AFC Championship game, maybe they've changed their heart about it and gone, oh, maybe maybe he was right. Listen, the Tennessee Titans, I don't think need to take a huge swing when it comes to the team. I don't. I don't. And there's a lot of people out there like you've got Cam Ward, you've got an offensive line that only one of them are you going to have to replace. Everybody else is young. They're going to be able to grow together if they can all stay healthy, blah, 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 blah. The Giants interviewed a bunch of people already. Okay. They interviewed the interim coach, Kafka. They interviewed Mike McCarthy. They interviewed Antonio Pierce. All those we knew were going to happen. They also interviewed Raheem Morris and Kevin Stefanski. They talked with Vance Joseph and Lou Anarumo, and then Darren Rizzi as well. Now listen, that's a good wide net. So therefore, I think the Giants have done their diligence. And yes, Harbaugh is a great hire for them. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But the Giants is a weird pick for me because of the ownership issue. You're not going to a team that has a solid ownership track record. You're not going to a team except for, I want to throw this out there. Tom Coughlin was at the Jacksonville Jaguars for 8 seasons. Then he gets fired, and then he goes to the Giants. This really does feel like a Tom Coughlin-esque scenario here. It really does. Am I saying he's going to go win 2 Super Bowls with the Giants? No. Am I saying this team can fight for 6th and 7th in the conference and fight for a playoff spot consistently with John Harbaugh as the coach? Absolutely. The Giants have the 5th pick in the draft. They have a lot of flexibility. John Harbaugh hasn't picked 5th in the draft in a long time. We thought it was going to be this year. They started out 1-5 and finished really, really strong, which is why, I would have kept him around if I was Baltimore. But it was time. So I don't want to get hung up on football yet. We're going to come back to football here in a little bit. But obviously that was the biggest news. I want to go to the NBA. I said we were going to do a lot of other stuff, especially as we run into this time where it slows down a little bit. But then I started thinking, the Super Bowl is February 8th. March 9th is when the season opens up. The league year opens for the tampering period. March 12th is technically when the league year opens. March 9th is the legal tampering period starts. So it's only less than 2 months until free agency hits. We got all the head coaching news because we got 9 head coaching spots. So all the head coaching news, all the offensive coordinator news, all the defensive coordinator news, the staff build-outs, all of that is going to be from now until after the league year starts. So we've got plenty to go on, and I've started thinking that once we get into, April, I may start doing my the spotlights again, and we'll do them live instead of recorded like I did last year. But you guys had great responses to them as I was going through everything, resetting everything before free agency hit, what picks they have, the salary cap, what they're looking at, and everything else like that. So probably do that between February and March as segments on here on the podcast. And hopefully next week, if I can look at it, find everything I need to, hopefully we'll actually be multicasting to different platforms. Now, which platforms it'll be, I'm not really sure yet, but hopefully it will not only be YouTube, but it will be at least one other platform as well, if not two. And I will be actually multi-streaming, trying to cast the wider net for um, for the goals for the podcast. This is not a last ditch effort by any means, but in a sense, it's one of the final things that I'm going to try. And if it doesn't work, you guys have seen this. I've been doing this. I was making audio recordings in my truck while driving overnight for this podcast originally. I have done a lot of different things. It's what I love to do. I enjoy it immensely. So, not going to stop the podcast, but it's something else I want to try to be able to reach my goals. But let's look at the NBA. Let's look at what can potentially happen. So I play fantasy basketball. I've got a couple of fantasy basketball leagues. And you know what I have realized with fantasy basketball, and this is going to be odd. You know how in football I kept talking about you find out how good players really are. You find out how productive players are in football. In basketball, the same thing happens. And I am here to tell you, there are not as many productive players in basketball as there are in football by a long shot. And it's not just because the teams are smaller. It's because there's not as many productive players in basketball. It's actually pretty sad. There are not many consistent players in basketball. Not many consistent players in basketball. So, the big news, so for today, the big news, if you have Amazon Prime, the minute that this podcast is over, I will be watching the Grizzly and Orlando Magic game, of which is taking place in Berlin. In Berlin. This is the Berlin game. Should be really, really interesting. I cannot wait to see it. I want to see what the atmosphere is for basketball. But the other thing about this is the Grizzlies have everybody out today. Ty Jerome's out. Ja Morant's out. Scottie Pippen Jr.'s out. Zach Edey's out. Everybody's out. So the Magic should have a relatively simple, straightforward path to being able to get the W today, and we'll see what happens. But in the NBA right now, I know I've done the standings for you guys, and I've played a couple different things through. I know I've done the standings for you guys, but and then I brought up the trade machine, which I love playing around with. It is really going to be interesting how some of these franchises approach the end of this season, because I do believe there is a very strong draft class coming up. Very strong. In fact, so strong that if you were to call me crazy for trading away my first round picks in 2026 in basketball, you would probably be right. I am trying to get other people to be able to build my teams, but nonetheless, you would be right. Because it is actually pretty interesting the amount of players that I think are going to be impact players. Because I think there's just some players that aren't even really playing hard. I really do. You've got some older players that are outplaying the younger guys, which is embarrassing. But right now, let's reset the standings as they are today, January 15th. Remember, the trade deadline is February 5th, I believe, again. February, yes. February 5th, I believe it is. So, with that, here are the standings as of today. In the Eastern Conference, the Pistons are 28-10. They haven't been as dominant as of late, but they lost both their centers, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren, and they should get them back today. They should also get Tobias Harris back today, get back to full strength, and they should start on the winning track again. Second is the New York Knicks, 4 games back. And third is the Boston Celtics. I really want to point this out. The Boston Celtics are 24-15. And last year, I was as objective as I could be when it came to the Pacers' deep playoff run and NBA final run. I was as objective as I could be. This is embarrassing. The Celtics lose Jason Tatum. Yes, they have Jaylen Brown, but they lost Jason Tatum. And Jaylen Brown has been injured off and on this year. And they are third in the Eastern Conference. The Pacers lose Tyrese Halliburton. Miles turned into free agency. And they're 9-32. It is a huge disparity. And this is not a coaching thing. This is a player thing. Jaylen Brown averages 29.5 points per game. The leading assist leader is Peyton Pritchard at 5.3. The team averages 116 points a game, 44 rebounds a game, and 24 assists per game. That is what the Celtics do. Okay? Now I'm going to give you the comparison. For the Indiana Pacers, Pascal Siakam averages 23.5 points per game. Andrew Nembhard averages 7 assists a game. As a team, they average 25 assists per game, they average 43 rebounds per game, and 110 points per game. It's not good. I'm hoping, and right now this is just a hope. I am still hoping. We are 41 games through the season. We are halfway through the NBA season. 25-57 seems like a long shot. That was the Pacers' record in 2021 to 2022. 25-57. And I'm going to throw this out there where when we jump back to football later, we're going to talk about some of the excuses teams make. Injuries can no longer be an excuse. And it sounds harsh. But look at what the 49ers are doing with no Bosa, no Warner. Ayuk has been out all year. Jennings was out for a bit of the year. Ricky Pearsall was out for a bit of the year. Brock Purdy was out for 8 games. And they're in the divisional round. Injuries cannot be everything. They cannot be everything. You cannot blame the injury bug any longer. Injuries are so common, it can no longer be the excuse unless it is astronomical. 15 guys on defense are on IR. That's astronomical. Like, that is a list that is more than what you put on the field. That's a list. 15 guys on IR all at the same time on the same side of the ball. That's a legitimate excuse. In the NBA, you've got 15 players, and then you got the G League guys. But you got 15 players. You lost one. It cannot be the excuse. It can't make you go from 50-plus wins to only 20 wins. The excuses do not fly at that point. The NBA is set up to be able to reward teams that make very smart decisions. The Pacers, as I have said, I did not like in any sense of the word. The way that they had managed the money and the contracts coming forward. Andrew Nembhard, I know, I've been on him. I understand that. I'm going to continue to be on him because this is the guy that said he wanted to be able to have that chance with Halliburton out. He had it. He's failed it a bunch. I've got him in fantasy basketball. He's done nothing. He's barely done. Like, you've got Joker in Denver. Okay? Joker dominates everything. And Jamal Murray will still do and outscore Nembhard by an average of 10 points a night. Accumulation. Points, rebounds, assists. He will outscore him by 10 points a night. Nembhard doesn't have Joker. He doesn't have Halliburton. He has the chance to step up, and he hasn't done it. The Sacramento Kings are a huge mystery to me. That team has got players. Sabonis is injured. You know that. Preston Achiuwa is filling in. But the Kings tried to replicate what the Bulls did, and it's not working. And one of those two players needs to be traded away. Period. So what's going to happen? Well, the Atlanta Hawks are going to make a move. We'll go back to the standings in a second. But the Atlanta Hawks are going to make a move. The Hawks got C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert from the Wizards for Trae Young. That was a really good trade. That was a really good trade. Okay? They can move off of the Hawks can move off of Porzingis. They really can. Then they've got Luke Kennard's deal, like 10 or 11 million. And then they got Corey Kispert, who actually has been hitting a couple of big shots, believe it or not, from the Wizards that has worked pretty good. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Hawks do. But the Hawks can make moves because they've got expiring contracts, and their cap space is pretty big for 2026 or 2027 with the way everything is. Boston, I think right now, these are trade potential targets. Anthony Simmons, I think they originally planned on potentially having him be a guy, but they're sitting third in the Eastern Conference. I think the Celtics are going to be buyers. I think Chris Boucher is going to be sought after for second-round picks. The Celtics are over the threshold right now for the luxury tax. They kind of need to trade away some players. So look for them to be able to make some moves and get back smaller contracts. The Brooklyn Nets, Michael Porter Jr. has played outstanding. He is going to get plenty of offers, and deservedly so. Deservedly so. I think they will have a bunch of suitors for it, and if they want to continue building that young nucleus and get a first round pick in this upcoming draft again, I think it's possible. Colin Sexton with the Charlotte Hornets. I do like how he plays. I think he is a very good bench player. He does have an expiring contract. It is a little expensive. I think it's like 19 mil. So from the season, you're gonna cut that down to whatever it is. But I do think that is absolutely viable. The Chicago Bulls, their best player is Nikola Vucevic. And they could easily move off of a lot of expiring contracts just to try to accumulate picks and not just lose. I think Billy Donovan's teams just need to get a little younger. I don't think Billy Donovan's really the problem up there in Chicago at all, but we will see what happens. We will see what happens. The Cleveland Cavaliers, Lonzo Ball is very expendable. Very expendable. Ball has a $10 million salary this year. And I think Lonzo Ball may actually warrant some looks by some teams looking for a bench player. Looking for a bench player. The Dallas Mavericks, it is said that they are now looking at Anthony Davis trades. He gets immediate calls, but I don't know what the calls are going to be. Anthony Davis, with his injury issues, like I have him in one of my fantasy leagues, I'm trying to trade him. Because he is all for next year. If the Mavericks are willing to not get the Luka Doncic deal, like Davis at this point, you just need to move off of, run with Cooper Flagg, hope that Kyrie Irving comes back healthy, run with Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. I think the Mavericks are okay if they can just make a trade, get one first-round pick out of Davis and a role player or two role players to go with them that get the group younger. I think it'll work. But look for Davis. There's going to be rumors around Davis. Look out for Davis. The Denver Nuggets, the young center that had come on in place of Joker being out, Zeke Naji, he could get some looks, or Denver could keep him very, very, very easily. But I think he's a player to watch for Denver to potentially trade. Detroit, Tobias Harris, 1,000%. Tobias Harris coming back. That team, I don't think, needs Tobias Harris. He is, he's a less talented Tayshaun Prince, in my opinion. I think he's very expendable. And I do believe it is time to move off of him to a team that could use a guy like Harris to come in and be a role player. I think Tobias probably is traded. Jonathan Kuminga today demanded a trade from the Warriors this morning. demanded a trade from the Warriors this morning. Now, he has not played in a game in a month. So his trade value isn't really, really high, except for those that see he just doesn't fit with Golden State. It's not a good fit. Draymond, the reality of the bullying that goes on within the Warriors because of Draymond's idiocracy, and because of how the Warriors are a tough place to play. I mean, Durant wasn't necessarily happy there, and he won a championship. They're winning championships. That says a lot about how the team's made up. Steph Curry is obviously not that way, but Jimmy Butler can handle Green. And right now, Kuminga just wants out. He's done with the bulliness. Short man syndrome is a real thing, guys. Draymond Green ain't the biggest. He may be tough, but he ain't the biggest. And he struggles in the NBA when it comes to size. And he's getting older and getting worse. So the Warriors will be trading Kuminga. I'm actually really excited to see where Kuminga goes. Because I think if he goes to a team that is missing a piece at that forward position, I think he could easily be it. I think he could fill in for a team, and I think it'd be really good. All right, the Houston Rockets have two guys that I'm watching. I'm watching Fred VanVleet coming back from his ACL surgery, hoping to get him back later in the year. Then Dorian Finney-Smith also could also be moved. That would be a cap move, just getting them some extra cap room as they go forward. And we'll see where it goes. But I don't think a lot materializes with the Rockets. I think they're happy with where they're at. And the trade for Durant was their big trade, and they're going to stick with it. The Indiana Pacers. Oh, gosh. They're going to use Benedict Mathurin. They're going to lose Mathurin. And it's because they have so much money in other players that they shouldn't have. He's only $9.2 million. Right now, Indiana is $16 million below the luxury tax. Okay? And we know how they hate going into the luxury tax. I don't think he's the only one. I don't. I would say watch for Siakam to get traded. And Pacer fans everywhere are telling me to shut my mouth at this point because he is the player that when you go to watch the games every night is putting out effort, and you can see the effort. But Siakam cannot do it alone. Tyrese cannot do it alone when he comes back, and I think opening up that cap space, if you're unwilling to trade Nembhard, Siakam's going to get you more. Siakam could get you a lot, honestly. Siakam could really get you a lot to be able to reset the cap. They hate the luxury tax. Reset the cap. Get a little bit cheaper. I would love to keep Mathurin to play next to Halliburton. I want a Halliburton, Mathurin, Nesmith front three. I want that backcourt to be those three guys. TJ McConnell off the bench, Ben Shepherd off the bench, Jarris Walker off the bench. But then you get the 2 draft picks and you go center power forward in the draft. That's what you do if you're the Pacers. But I am afraid they're going to trade Benedict instead of Nembhard and only free up $9 million when they could free up $20 million. But nonetheless, the Clippers don't have much to trade. The NBA investigation could wipe out their picks for this year. They're kind of in trouble. They've gotten hot. We'll see how long that streak lasts, and we'll see what happens. The Clippers really don't have much to be able to trade away. They really don't. The Lakers do have Dalton Knecht, who I think has been vastly underused. JJ Redick has not done a great job of managing the Lakers because of LeBron being there. I blame LeBron more than I blame JJ Redick. But Dalton Knecht, I think, goes to another team as a wing and 3. And Dalton Knecht does not become what I thought he was going to be coming out of college. He's a 3-point guy, sweet shot. It's good. And I would absolutely trade for him if I'm a team that just needs another wing. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to trade. They're going to trade Ja Morant. The question is, what are they going to get? What are they going to get? And the reality is, I don't know. If he's going to play, his production's dropped. I know that. But he's a guard. He's a good guard. Taking a chance on him the way that like the Wizards did with Trae Young, trading away expiring contracts to get him, could work. Could work. Maybe Memphis is going to demand that picks get thrown in there. It does. If it doesn't have to be this year, give him a 28 pick. Give him a 29 pick, for gosh sakes. I think the trade for Ja Morant works. The Miami Heat have a lot of questions. I don't see a lot of things happening with Miami. The Terry Rozier, who's got all the legal trouble. I don't see anything. I don't see anything materializing with that. Rozier's contract is expiring. No big deal. The Milwaukee Bucks could end up trading Kyle Kuzma. I don't believe Giannis is going to get traded because if the Bucks are going to pursue players to build up what Giannis has, I think Kuzma's going to be the odd man out, and they're going to get other players to help build with what they did getting Miles Turner. Miles Turner's production has dropped off because the Bucks run a really weird – it's a weird style of offense because Giannis has the ball so much and Turner doesn't play down low like a normal center does. It was one of the issues that I said was in Indiana. He was told just stay out by a 3-point line because he could shoot, and that really doesn't help anybody. The Timberwolves, to me, don't have much of a trade option. They really, really don't. Not really at all. I think that team is set, and they're not going to make many moves. The Pelicans could easily trade Trey Murphy. Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson can be traded. The Pelicans are last again. When you're last again, time to make a move. It is time to make a move. The Knicks really don't have anybody that is worthwhile trading for. The Thunder, they've done too well with drafting. There's nobody there. Tyus Jones for the Orlando Magic, young guard. He's expendable for the Magic. $7 million expiring contract. Cheap, solid backup guard coming off the bench. They will definitely get offers from him. The Phoenix Suns center Nick Richards, look out for that one potentially to be a big trade. The Suns getting rid of him to get a little bit of the value back for what they spent on him could easily happen. Jeremy Grant, the forward for the Portland Trailblazers, I like him. They're looking at the Blazers are easily looking at being a play-in team in the Western Conference, and they're definitely a team that, when healthy, I would put up against a lot of people, and they just need money. He's got 2 years, $70 million remaining on his contract. And I think they're going to move off of him to be able to sign the young guys they have coming down the line, because the team is younger. For the Sacramento Kings, they could easily trade Sabonis. He is a double-double machine. He has a $42.3 million salary hit. And he is fully worth it because he gets the board. He's a game changer underneath. So I absolutely believe Sabonis is going to be in play. And we'll see what happens, and we'll see what the Kings can get. Guard Keon Ellis also is going to be a trade prospect. I think everybody on Sacramento is available for trade. I'll be honest. I know the King fans are not happy with this. They don't understand what in the world's going on. I'm right there with you guys. I don't get it either. I really don't get it either. The San Antonio Spurs are young. They don't have a bunch of options. It's basically going to be bench, like 9 to 12th player scenarios, so not looking really for them to make a trade. Neither will the Raptors. Jusuf Nurkic, the center, is with the Jazz. They're going to be quiet, but he does have a very viable trade option in anybody that needs a center. $19.4 million salary is very, very, very viable if you can get a multi-team trade going. And I think this could work. Or Nurkic could end up being bought out, but the Jazz are going to be sitting there. They're trying to be in position to be able to be in the play-in. And then the Washington Wizards still have Chris Middleton. Now, the Wizards were supposed to have like $80 million in cap space for next year, but then they acquired Trae Young's, player option for next season. So that obviously is no longer $80 million. Middleton is on an expiring contract. It is a big contract. If they can't get a trade done, a multi-team trade done, because Middleton is an experienced guy for any team that's looking to make a run in the playoffs, Middleton would be a great pickup. I really do believe the Wizards still have a couple of trade pieces, and I love the youth on their team. I really do love the youth on their team. All right. So that's basketball. Trade talk, less than a month away. Some teams could be really active. Some teams may be quiet. Obviously, we're going to be watching it all as we go along. So let's get back to football. Let's close this out. Last 10 minutes here. When you look at the jobs, remember I used the analogy earlier this week of job A and job B. When you look at the candidates that are there. There is a stigma that says this round of candidates is not that strong. I am going to really, really, really push back on that. They're not high profile. That doesn't mean they're not really strong. Do we have Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel like last year? No. You got John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski, and those were ones that we didn't expect to have, to be honest. We knew we were going to have Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel coming into the end of last year. We didn't know we were going to have John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski. So take those two out. The rest of the jobs. Mike McCarthy has one in Green Bay and one in Dallas. Why would you not pick him up if you're the Falcons or the Cardinals? You know who had some success there in Arizona? Bruce Arians. You know who could have some success in Arizona? Mike McCarthy. You know who would be an offensive coach to be able to play with the offensive young talent he's got in Atlanta? Mike McCarthy. Robert Saleh had a top 3 defense every year with the New York Jets. He has Kyle Shanahan as his head coach. He has John Lynch as his GM. Again, he will be able to sign a decent offensive coordinator to handle the offense wherever he goes. I believe Robert Saleh is one heck of a coach. Look what he's done. His defense has no business. His defense is the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. It has no business being in the playoffs, yet it is. Yet they stuffed Philadelphia. Robert Saleh is a heck of a coach, and he absolutely deserves a shot. That's not high profile. Brian Flores has all the question marks, of which are very valid. Do not get me wrong. They are very valid question marks. But you can't deny what he was able to do in Miami. In a laid-back town, he was able to instill a little bit of toughness. Does he fit everywhere? Absolutely not. But does he have some places where he does fit? Yeah. If he were to hire an offensive coordinator that was nicer than he is, I could see him turning the Titans around and making them competitive, highly competitive. Competitive to the point where you have the Titans on your schedule, you don't want to play them. That's what I could see him doing. I could see him continuing on with a defensive prowess. If the Ravens were to hire him, I think he kind of fits Baltimore. Not going to lie. It's a different type of move. Most of you guys remember Rex Ryan. Intense. The aura. The big personality that kept the limelight on him and not on everything else about the team. I feel like Flores has that potential ability. I think Flores, even though Baltimore isn't horrible, because John Harbaugh was there for 18 years, even though Baltimore isn't horrible, I think Baltimore may work for Flores. Tough. Defense is their past, and with how they've got their money spent, defense can be their future. But instead of Tua Tagovailoa, he's got Lamar Jackson. I think Flores works in a couple places. Matt Nagy to me works. I think Matt Nagy is a very good hire. I do not like the Clint Kubiak hire. Last year, I said I was hesitant about the Kellen Moore hire. I do give him a ton of credit for what he did down in New Orleans. They started playing hard. Tyler Shug, he improved through the season. He absolutely improved. So I give Kellen Moore a lot of credit. The Clint Kubiak stuff, I'm not so sure about. We'll know who wants Clint Kubiak by who doesn't have a coach by the Super Bowl. Because once the Harbaugh, it goes official. Once that signing goes official, the clock is started. Everybody else now has to get in because Harbaugh's going to take all these top assistants immediately. 48 hours, he's going to have his staff filled out, and everybody else is going to be fighting for seconds. And then the second domino is going to fall, and now everybody's going to be fighting for thirds and fourths, and it's going to go on down and down and down and down the list. I think Flores works. I think Matt Nagy deserves. He won with Mitch Trubisky. And at that time it was a worse situation. Ben Johnson came in and said no nonsense. But he has all the leverage. Ben Johnson had all the leverage because the Bears had just drafted number 1 again. They just drafted Caleb Williams. So this guy comes in, Ben Johnson comes in and goes, I'm not going to play around. We're going to do what we need to do to get this team where it needs to be. I don't care what it takes. We're going to spend money. We're not going to worry about jumping and bumping up our salary number. Not worried about having as much cap as possible. We want to have as much team as possible. And guess what? His plan worked. Matt Nagy did not have that. The Bears weren't backed into a corner with Matt Nagy. So I do believe Matt Nagy, Tennessee, I really like him with. I do like him with Atlanta. Atlanta would be very smart to bring him in. Atlanta's probably a team that most offensive coaches, I like going there because Arthur Blank is so much more laid back. Raheem Morris missed the playoffs back-to-back years, failed in his job. He was just supposed to make the playoffs, and in games, it just looked like he was not ready to be a head coach. He'll be a defensive coordinator. Decent defensive coordinator, but he'll be a defensive coordinator. Don't get caught up in the mantra that there's nobody good for your team to coach you. That's not true. That is not true at all. There are some very good candidates out there. There's just not high-profile candidates. It's guys like John Harbaugh. It's guys like Mike Macdonald, who everybody thought was going to get interviews, but he wasn't high-profile. Sean McVay wasn't high-profile. He was young. The Rams just said, you're not leaving the building. You're our next coach, period. You don't have bad options for your next head coach. Titans, Browns, Cardinals, Falcons, Giants, even if they end up with Harbaugh, Giants, Ravens, Steelers, Raiders, and the Dolphins. There's not bad options. Just not high profile. It's guys that are going to come in and do their job, and you don't have a media circus with it. Sometimes that's pretty valuable. Just saying. All right, guys. Different. Tomorrow we got picks. Got picks. My picks for this weekend. We get ready. We prime. We get ready for divisional weekend. We get ready for Monday night's national championship game. I will do that pick, obviously, on Monday. it's been an okay week. Yesterday was rough. The freight was outrageously heavy. I hurt my knee yesterday. Knee was really sore, so I was just sitting with it. I had it elevated yesterday because the freight the workload's been pretty heavy this week, and stuff just wasn't cooperating Tuesday night. So I was sore yesterday. Feel much better today. Able to sit and do what I want to do here, which is the podcast. But I will have more news hopefully tomorrow on the multi-stream. As always, I deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks so much for hanging out. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast with a friend. Stay warm, my friends. I know up north, got snow just came through and made everything a mess last night. So stay warm, be safe, and as always, make it the best day you can. I will see you guys tomorrow for Sports Talk with Hawk. I'm Hawk. I'm out.